rockers, your punks, your freaks, your geeks, your Greeks, your party animals, your gangsters, your commuters, your residents, your students, your alums, your lawyers, your truckers, your calls, your tweets. And we'll give you rock, classic, indie, punk, alternative, easy, hard, raps, rhymes, mixes, and drops. We'll give you kick-ass music because we're WPSC 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio. Sound good?
WPSC FM 88.7, Wayne, New Jersey.
Part of the William Patterson Broadcast Network. Brave New Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of the host and guest and are not necessarily supported by WPSC 88.7 FM, station management, or the station owner, William Patterson University. Anyone wanting to offer differing opinions may do so by calling the show at 973-720-2738. Abusive callers will be rejected. Now here's your program on WP 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio.
Good morning to you, and yes, believe it or not, another week has gone by, and it's time for another edition of the Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley. This is he speaking with you at this moment. And again, as I said, another week has gone by, and we're here together again. My guest is already on the line, so we are going to forge ahead with our normal Saturday morning ritual and routine. Those of you who've been listening regularly, you know what that is. I'm going to read from a couple of books that I read from each Saturday morning to kick the show off. I'm going to give you the weather. I'm going to introduce our guests, share some information with you, and our interview will be underway. That's kind of the agenda for the morning. So I ask that you get on all your social media sites. I'm on mine right now. I just went on Hootsuite and let everybody know that the Reading Circle was coming up on the air live. And Hootsuite for me kicks it out to all my different social media sites. Whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, it kicks it out to all my sites. So I let everybody know that my guest is already on the line with me, and to tune in to gobrave.org. And I ask that you do the same. So anytime we break to share some information, do that. Or if you can do more than one thing at a time, if you can listen to us as well as be on your social media sites encouraging others to listen, I would appreciate that you do that. So I tell you what, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give you the weather and let you know what's going on there. I think I'm going to give you the weather. It just disappeared on my screen in front of me. So I tell you what, I will go ahead and read from our two books while I'm waiting for the weather to come back up. Today is May the 23rd. From the book, What Can Happen When We Pray? For May 23rd, it says change of heart. Today's prayer. I give thanks to you, O Lord, for hearing my distress and comforting me, for hearing my joy and taking delight in it. Lord, I thank you for your unconditional love and your endless mercy that meets me at my point of need. Today's reflection. For many of us, a tragedy or a crisis can put us in a position of having to rely and depend on someone else. When disaster strikes and we don't know what to do, when we are overwhelmed with a sense of hopelessness or where to go, and when it seems that no one can help, at those times, we turn to God as our last resort. God doesn't always change the situation, but sometimes changes us in the situation. The situation that seemed impossible or hopeless before now has possibilities and options. We thank God for the strength to go forward and not give up. We want to repay God, but God only desires from us our love and obedience. That's from the book, What Can Happen When We Pray. And now we will read from the book Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. And for May 23rd, she says, I am now receptive to the idea that there comes a time when a parent must stop parenting. Wow. As an educator, I'm trying to get parents to start parenting, and Iyanla's talking about that time when they stop. Some parents never give up. They never give up directing, controlling, and interfering in their grown children's lives. They never give up talking about, criticizing, or chastising their children, long after they are grown. Just in case you were wondering, anyone who is of voting age or drinking age is sexually active and who demonstrates the responsibility and means to pay their own rent is grown. Now, see, I'm going to pause right there. I'm going to put a pin right there. What do they call those things? The little sticky pin. What are you? Not a thumbtack, but that other one. I'm going to put that right there. Because she said means to pay their own rent. That's the distinguisher right there. Because many of our grown kids are still home and they're still relying on their parents. So the parents do still have to be parents. So that's not in the book. So I'm going to keep on though. Sometimes parents are in their grown children's lives in appropriate ways. They pay their grown children's bills. They buy their grown children's food. There are even some parents who allow their grown children and their lovers to live in their homes. Some parents are so concerned and afraid that the kid won't make it, they never give the kid the opportunity to try. We're not talking about the parent who helps out when a child has hard times. We are talking about those parents who will not allow their children to face the hard time. We are talking about those parents who don't believe that their grown children are capable of handling difficulty, so they constantly interfere. Running interference for your children can interfere with their ability to figure things out on their own. It is a parent's right to worry. It is a parental obligation to be concerned. It is also a parent's duty to know when to let go and step back from the front page of their child's life. A parent knows when a child is ready to go out into the world. A parent knows when a child is in trouble and needs some help or assistance. A parent also knows that some of the fears they have about the child failing or falling has nothing to do with the child. Until today, you may have been involved in your grown children's lives in ways that were not appropriate. Just for today, take a breath. Let go. Offer your grown children the opportunity to meet life on their own terms. While they are doing that, learn how to knit. Today I'm devoted to offering my grown children the opportunity to grow up. As you can tell, I definitely enjoyed both of those passages, but particularly the Iyanla Vanzant one, because that's a struggle that I face personally as well as professionally, and I can do a whole show just on this passage that I just read alone. I read from those two books each Saturday morning as a part of the ritual and routine because they send off a positive message, a positive vibe, and plus the show is the reading circle, so we start the show off by reading. And now that my weather is back, I'm going to go ahead and deliver that for you, introduce my guest, and we will be, before you know it, 7 o'clock will be here. Right now it's 43.2 degrees, sunny high, expected to go to a high of 69 and a low of 49. It's going to remain clear tonight and then tomorrow, Sunday, except for a few clouds, mainly sunny, high of 81, low of 58. And then as we roll on into Memorial Day, partly to mostly cloudy with widely scattered showers or thunderstorms possible in the afternoon. That high is going to be 87, low of 64. A few clouds Monday night. And then on Tuesday, 92 as a high. Ooh, a low of 64. A few passing clouds, otherwise generally sunny. Mostly clear Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, partly cloudy, high of 89, low of 65. Expect isolated thunderstorms during the evening. Then partly cloudy overnight, low around 55. That's the weather brought to you right here from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. And I tell you what, that tack that I was trying to describe is called a push pin. So, you know, we're going to be talking about the mind in a couple of minutes and how to keep it and stretch it and keep it active. So we're going to be talking about that. One of the ways to do that is to not tell yourself that you have a forgetful mind. You always tell yourself it'll come to you. It'll come to me. And certainly as we were talking, the word I was looking for came to me, which was push pin. So I wanted to put a little push pin right in that area there where Jan was talking about paying rent or mortgage. My guest is online. As you can tell, I'm feeling good this morning. A lot of energy. It's early in the morning, but I got a lot of sleep last night, and I am full of energy. My guest is Joan Moran. She has no idea what the word retirement means. Baby booming to a whole new beat. Nothing is stopping this grandmother of 5, a lifelong learner with an unrelenting curiosity. Joan started teaching yoga at 60 and unlocked the key to cultivating daily happiness. Holding 2 masters, education in theater, and with over 25 years of experience in theater, Joan effortlessly teaches the dual wisdom of creativity and work-life balance. Tenacious with a bold flair, Joan has already left some impressive footprints, from pioneering and launching the first professional year-round theater in Las Vegas to being awarded the Governor's Award for Outstanding Contribution to Theater in Nevada. This age-defying go-getter, all right now, has no limits. Joan's signature headstand is not the only thing that leaves audiences in awe. As a highly beloved keynote speaker, she commands the stage with her delightful humor, raw energy, and wealth of life experience, including daily techniques for optimal wellness that brilliantly ripple through one's life. Providing stepping stones for lasting change, Joan is taking personal fulfillment to a new level and empowering employees, business leaders, and fellow boomers nationwide. The title of her book is Stretch Your Mind at Any Age. Joan, good morning and welcome to the Reading Circle.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I am well. Things like it's full of energy. I got a lot of sleep last night. Most Friday nights, since the show has been on the air, a lot of times Friday nights are my hardest night for getting to sleep. I'm always so excited and in anticipation of the show, and to make sure, because it's an early morning show, that I don't oversleep. But last night I fell asleep early and slept soundly till the alarm went off this morning.
Well, good for you. I was anticipating for the last hour getting up, so I fully intend to go back to bed after I talk.
Generally, that's what I do whenever I leave here and go back home. If I don't have something else to do immediately after, I go back home and take a nap as well. But like I said, right now, I think I got all the sleep I needed last night. I think I was asleep early. And I know the last couple of nights I fell asleep early. But I am thrilled to have you here, and the topic, I kind of somewhat alluded to it whenever I was throwing that little hint out about how not to be forgetful. Because many of us, and I'm sure we're going to probably talk about this somewhere along the way, many of us actually talk ourselves into the very thing that we don't want. So a lot of times if you're forgetting something, people, I have such a bad memory. I can't. You really need to be saying just the reverse. Don't worry, it'll come to me. It's on its way. It's coming, so forth and so on. So early when I was struggling to find that word push pin, I had already told myself internally, it'll come. And sure enough, before I'd finished reading the passage, the word popped into my mind. So I'm going to share some information with the listening audience. We call that a public service announcement. I'm going to share that with them. And then, folks, you know what to do. If you're a regular listener, get on your computers and start, or your telephones, or any device that you have, start encouraging folks to tune in. If they're not, wake them up. I know it's early, but wake them up. Let them know that we're on the air and this is an interview they will not want to miss. Particularly if you happen to be in that boomer age like I am. I'm at the tail end of the boomers, but in the baby boomer era nonetheless. I caught the tail end of it, and I am a piece of it. So I am waiting to hear how we can stretch our minds and improve our lives. So let somebody know that they definitely want to hear this interview with Joan Moran.
Think carrying 10 or 20 pounds of extra weight isn't much? We went to a park, handed 10 and 20-pound sandbags to people aged 45 to 60, and asked if we could follow them around.
10 pounds makes a big difference. Oh, I definitely felt it in my knees.
A few extra pounds each year can cause joint pain and lead to serious chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease. Wouldn't you like to drop that weight and stop picking up more? Visit hhs.gov/1 pound at a time to find out how. Obesity happens 1 pound at a time. So does preventing it. Brought to you by HHS and NIH.
Yeah, salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw-up on Thursday, water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday, let's move Monday, swap next Sunday.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov. A message from USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed, you are. You are indeed listening to WP 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio. We are web streaming around the globe on gobrave.org. My guest this morning is Joan Moran, author of Stretch Your Mind at Any Age. Joan is a creative thought leader specializing in the power of the mind. And I know I'm going to enjoy this morning because I have read so many self-improvement books that it's not funny. I have a library full of them. I love that whole, when I go into the bookstore, that's one of the first racks I go into. I think they've even changed the name of it now. It used to be called Self-Improvement, but now they call it something else. She empowers employees, business leaders, and boomers to enhance innovation, excel at work-life balance, and improve leadership practices. So, Joan, tell me, the book is Stretch Your Mind and Age. Can we really stretch our minds so that we can achieve more out of life?
Well, absolutely. It starts with curiosity. It starts with questioning. And as long as you are in that mode, if your brain is in that mode, that you want to learn, becoming lifelong learners is something boomers, I think, excel at. If we want to brag a little bit about our generation. And we're all about, I think, reading because we're a generation of readers. And we are about curiosity, learning new things. We're a learner generation. And we do believe in the power of mental stretching. In other words, that researchers, psychologists, and people in medicine who study the brain, they have understood that for decades the human brain can expand. We can keep all of our brain cells. We can regenerate our brain cells. I mean, as we get older, our brain cells die, but we can regenerate those brain cells in our lives and keep our minds active. I don't know about you, but I've talked to some really sharp 95-year-olds, and it's just about them saying yes in a positive way to expanding the horizon in front of you, so that we don't live in little microcosms, but we are news junkies. We want to find out what's happening in the world. We want to find out what's happening in science and in psychology and education. I started off being a teacher, and I've been teaching my whole life since I was 22. So for me, teaching is learning, and that's the way and also I'm a writer, and I write every day. Every single day I write. I'm an inveterate blogger. And for me, that's part of my stretching my mind. And over the last 10 years of writing consistently, I think that I have maintained my intelligence. And yes, I do forget words. I completely forget words. The other day I was trying to think of Steely Dan, and for the life of me, couldn't think of Steely Dan. And all of a sudden, about 8 hours later, Steely Dan comes to mind. And I go, oh yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. But if you're patient, that word will come to you like the push pin. And as I get older, I think it's kind of funny that I can't remember the word, and then like it could be 15 minutes later, an hour later, or 2 hours later, that word appears in my mind. And that's the way the brain works. We'll get something in the way of our thought. Something will cross a certain part of our brain, and we, as we get older, we're not as sharp, in terms of our memory and our recall, but we can train our minds to be as good as we possibly can if we're mindful about that. And I have to correct you, Mark, because I did not write a book. I don't want to mislead the listeners this morning. My book is not called Stretch Your Mind. What I speak about as a keynote speaker is stretching your mind. I did write a memoir, and the memoir is called 60 Sex and Tango, Confessions of a Beatnik Boomer. So as I wrote this book at 63 and 64 years old, I put my life together, and I'm not really considered a boomer. I'm actually considered the tail end of the war babies, because I was born in 1943. But I identify with the boomers, of course, because I'm not identifying with World War II.
Exactly, and that's the beginning of the boomer stage. It was very close because, like I said, I'm on the tail end. I was 1962, so I was. But you're not far off from the beginning of the boomers.
No, it's 46.
Okay.
I actually was just writing that because I'm actually doing a lot of blogging about reframing age and how this is part of stretching the mind. And it's actually part of why I wrote the book, just to examine a life of, let's say, for example, I woke up in my 60s and I said, oh my goodness, where am I? Like I've lost track of time and I don't know where I am. And I am a mother of 2 adult children and 5 grandchildren. And it was like kind of shocking to put myself in a new position. But that's a learning experience. And I've through the book, I actually gained an awful lot of self-knowledge, self-reflection, and was really able to go into my late 60s feeling fantastic, feeling joyful and positive, and deciding that I was going to be a keynote speaker at 67 years old. So a lot of nice things happen to me later on in life when you're thinking that your brain is really not functioning rather well. But, it's an experience to be with, have a mind-body connection, what I call a mind-body spirit connection, throughout your life. And it actually pays off at the end. I mean, I'm looking at, 20, 25, maybe 30 years ahead now.
Absolutely. And I jokingly, but seriously as well, tell folks, my goal is to be 100 and healthy, not 100. Oh. My goal is 100 and healthy. Now, I didn't say 100 and struggling, 100 and scuffling, 100 and having to be taken care of in wheelchairs and drooling and all that. I said 100 and healthy, just as you're describing in terms of the mind is still there, the body's still there, you know what's going on. And interesting, like you were saying about the mind shift of age, because as each, and I hear this a lot from people, and I felt it myself. Each age now, in terms of decades, it seems to be shifted. In other words, they say 50 is the new 40, or 40 is the new 30, or 30 is the new 20, what have you. Now, I don't know if we're saying that because we've reached those ages or really because of the way we have been able to maintain and to continue being active. And
the key to this is age is an attitude. It is not chronology.
Yes.
Not chronology. If you want to put a label on it every time you turn to another age, if I were, I would probably freak out. But I'm not turning. I'm looking back on a year saying, "Wow, that was cool," and I had a lot of great experiences. And I did a lot of cool things. It isn't. It's a cause for celebration every year gone by. If you want to look
absolutely.
But that chronological age has absolutely nothing to do with who you are as a person. That's irrelevant. Most of my friends are 50, and there's no difference, in how we hang out. So, and I hang out with my daughters-in-law and my sons, and and also having grandchildren keeps you very young, because what you're doing as a grandparent, and this is really important for those who are, and I think about this a lot, is to you're teaching. You're back going to your kids' schools or talking to the teachers, seeing how they're growing and developing, and teaching those kids maybe to read or to play ball or whatever it is that how you engage with your grandchildren. And at the end of the day, you're back, as a young parent. Not 100%, but you have influence over those children's lives. So that keeps you young, very young, to run around with them.
How much of this, in terms of exactly what we're discussing, can help prevent or at least maybe delay dementia?
This is just, keep a journal, write, keep your writing skills up, read as much as you can. The idea of reading every day, even if it's for, 5 pages before you go to bed, not taking the passive way in life. For example, television watching, except if it's a great documentary or it's a news program you want to watch, or a good series that's well written. That is okay for passive, but you can't spend hours and hours and hours watching passive, mindless messages. They're not good messages. So you can delay dementia. I mean, I saw it. My mom died at 98. It was only the last 2 years that she had some issues because she fell. And when you fall, that really triggers something in your brain.
Right.
And that's the sad part about falling. So, and that wasn't her fault that she fell. Someone ran into her. But she read the paper every day. She was a senior aerobics teacher for many, many years at her social club or the senior center in Las Vegas where she lived. Socialization is one of the most important activities that you can do to keep your brain functioning. Like, ladies get together for cards, and older. There's a lot of lady groups. Most people I know have reading groups, have book clubs. That's what I mean. They have book clubs. Join the book club. Go to a meetup activity. Go to the library. Read to kids. Keep the mind active. There are so many things. Volunteer and interact. All of these things keep our minds sharp, and it will delay dementia. You don't have to have dementia. That's not something that...
I absolutely. And see, again, that's why I'm saying just having this conversation excites me because, as I said, I'm always looking for self-improvement. And because exactly what I just said my goal is, and because I know the kind of like the science and the theory and the philosophy and the psychiatry and ecology and everything else behind it, like you just said about TV, it's rare that I watch television in my house, even though I have one. It's rare because it is a very passive, mindless activity. And I'm constantly encouraging folks to read more, hence the purpose of the show. When the show was put together 14 years ago, that was the objective of it, was to pique folks' interest in reading, regardless of the genre. That's why we interview authors with the hope that someone will hear the show and say, you know what, I want to learn more about that subject, so I want to get the book and I'm going to read it. That's the whole purpose of the show each morning. So as I'm listening to you, I'm really getting excited, especially now, like I said, I was born in 1962, so in August I'll be 53. And for me, age is relative. Like you said, it's not the person. I still, on the inside of me, feel no different than when I was 8 or 9 or 10 or 15 years old. The inside of me feels no different whatsoever. And truth be told, the outside doesn't feel that much worse either. But I do believe it's a mindset.
There's something that happened to me. I wrote about this in my book, and I was taking a year of Jungian therapy. And it was to really help me deal with issues with adult children, as you were talking about. I mean, that was a profound passage that you read this morning. And it was, examining your dreams and examining the unconscious, which is the Jungian therapy way, because it wasn't behavior that I was looking at, that I really was looking for, behavior changes. But I was looking for... deeper revelations in my subconscious. And so I said, I always feel like I'm 19. And that's hence Steely Dan's Hey 19. And my therapist said to me, never lose that. Never lose that young girl inside of you. Because that young girl stays, if you could just keep it with you, whatever age that was, important for you. It could be 20, it could be 16, it could be 18, but you're feeling the possibility. He asked me, he says, why 19? I said, because at 19, I felt the possibility that everything what could happen in my life, that I could fulfill my dreams, I could live a life of meaning, I could leave a great legacy. And that's kind of a little note for people, to think about when was it that hope was there, that there was every possibility in the world that you could fulfill your dreams and take your life into great directions. And I think that's part of staying young also. And I am a big proponent of dancing.
Yes.
Also, dancing has proven to keep your mind very, very active. First of all, music is math-based. And
Correct.
listening to music and interpreting music with your body and your mind in a connection. And I dance Argentine tango, hence the title of my book, 66 and Tango. And I've been dancing Argentine tango for over 20 years. And it is a very profoundly complicated dance. And the male lead and the female follower. And you learn so many things through the dance about yourself and about what your relationship to other people. And so I feel that has also attributed to my ability to keep my body and my mind connected. And also I've been teaching yoga for the last over 12 years, and I've studied and practiced yoga for over 20. That's another way of being in connection with your mind and getting rid of the mindlessness, the distractions in your life.
That's
because
right.
Distractions are evil things, really. I say that in jest, but the people, places, and things that get in the way of true intention, the people, places, and things that get in the way of values, of beliefs, and which are the most important things in your life, and that's those of which you live by. You don't live by the gossip. You don't live by,
That's right.
the distractions of social media and who's on first and who got the most. And life is not a competition. And you've got to be in touch with who you are first. Self-knowledge, self-reflection, 10-minute meditation a day. Your mind's you're never going to have any problem. All things being equal. I say that keeping in mind that people develop illnesses. And when you develop illnesses, then that's another challenge for your life.
Absolutely. Well, those of you in the listening audience, I hope you've been with us since we began the show. But if you've just tuned in, my guest is Joan Moran, and we're talking about a subject that is extremely important. I need you to get on all your social media sites and texts and any device that you have that will alert people, and you have any type of influence over your friends and relatives. Tell them to tune into this show because it is an inspirational morning in terms of what's being said. I'm going to share some information with you, and we will resume our interview once that information is shared. Joan, I say this each week. I know many DJs and show hosts say we're taking a break and we'll be right back, but the truth of the matter is we're not going anywhere. So I'm just sharing this information with you, and we're going to resume when that information is shared. But while I'm sharing that, I need you to listen to it, as well as, again, influence someone to tune in and listen to Joan as she's giving some information that could change your life.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you. Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Stan Myers, and I'm here at FM 88.7. I do a jazz show called Just a Mood. And if you like the music, anything from Louis to Lester Bowie, I'm your man. That's Sunday afternoons, 3 to 6. Looking to hear from you, okay?
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
This is The Reading Circle with Marc Medley. We're heard live each Saturday morning from 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Then when we flip into Daylight Savings Time is Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Whenever we go back into the regular time is Eastern Time. show's an early morning show, but the early bird catches the worm, and even rising early has something to do with this whole notion of we're talking about stretching your mind. So, Joan, talk a little bit about, because a lot of times because I subscribe to this same philosophy that we're talking about this morning. I always have. But a lot of times when we're talking to people, they think it's a bunch of hooey, or they think we're like looking at life through rose-colored glasses, or what have you been smoking, or whatever. But the truth of the matter is life can be stressful. So let's talk a little bit about how, tips you can share on handling the stresses in life. And I see here that you have Joan's Mind Fuel Essential Toolkit for Life Renewal, Daily Techniques for Optimal Wellness. Let's talk a little bit about stress and how we can combat that, if you will.
One of these 5 Mind Fuel tools for life renewal, I believe that in some way, shape, or form, everybody knows about them. They are not new. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm just putting it down and looking at it. And the first is have an attitude of gratitude. And when we talk about stress is something that we create for ourselves. And if we just put the gratitude into that equation, that stress will reduce. Because these life fuel tools actually get us thinking more proactively about our lives instead of dwelling on the stress. Stress is negative. And we don't want to have that negative in our lives. We want to have the positive. And having an attitude of gratitude really creates abundance. So that when something goes wrong, we don't say, oh, it's going to wreck my life, or, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. We turn that negative into a positive, because we know that if our gratitude is always there with us, that our abundance will always be next to that, and our life will grow in gifts. Maybe not the gifts that you particularly want or expect, but they'll come to you in another form. And so that's the first Mind Fuel tool. It may be the most important for reducing stress. Now, that sounds kind of like people might say, well, that doesn't make any sense. If I'm stressed about my job, okay, wait, you have a job. Be grateful for the job.
Absolutely.
Look at your job and say, what can I do to make this job better? Because I have one, and I get a paycheck. So, maybe I have an irascible boss, an employer, and she's making my life miserable, and that's causing stress. So be grateful that you have a boss, and try to work your way into finding something positive about the situation, and start from the positive, not from the negative. Because you keep saying, oh, this is difficult, I can't do this, and you're not really facing your challenges head on. You're skirting them. You're using the negative to do a dance and go sideways and not really, go forward with your work. It could happen in a relationship, or it could happen with friends. It could happen with your living situation. No matter what it is, we all have some stress. But I want to just back up a little bit before I talk about the other 4 Mind Fuel tools. But let me back up to say that, and it's been proven over and over again. I worked at UCLA at the Mindfulness Center, at meditation, that 10-minute meditation a day, that time you take to release all thoughts and to be in a moment of surrender and acceptance, and not think, and not put ideas into your head, not put thoughts into your head, but just go to a moment where your mind is empty, is a rejuvenating state of mind. When you come out of that meditation, the stress will be reduced for sure, and the positive spin on everything will be there. It just happens because you're letting go of the negative. You're letting go of your thoughts, which program your mind. And so starting from neutral, starting from empty, is a good place to start. So the first Mind Fuel tool is have an attitude of gratitude. The second Mind Fuel tool is be vulnerable. Vulnerability is the ability to express your feelings openly and honestly, and not hide them, which causes stress. Because when you're not forthright and you don't come forward and tell people how you feel, stress builds up in you.
That's correct.
It's very insidious, and it's very, very bad for your mental health. So learn that vulnerability is your strength, not your weakness. And I want to mention a woman who I follow. Her name is Dr. Brené Brown, and she is a sociologist at the University of Houston, has written many books, one in particular called Daring Greatly. And she talks about vulnerability in the most amazing language. And you see through her writing and her research, there's a lot of research that goes into this, that vulnerability gives you the opportunity to be creative. Because how do you create your life? You create your life through feelings and emotions and intuition. And your whole idea of being creative comes from you inside of you. And we're made of emotions. And we use that, what we call the lizard brain, that pain pleasure center. We use that for good, not for evil. We use that part of our brain for the creative process. So vulnerability is your strength. And there's a quote that I use in one of my speeches. Michael Jordan said that he lost over, he missed over 3,000 shots in his career, and he lost about 300 games. I guess it was 9,000 shots, and he lost about 300 games. And he said 26 times I was asked to take the winning shot and failed. And he said, I have failed over and over again, and that is how I succeed.
Absolutely.
So that's a really illustrative story of how we must look at our lives. And so recognizing your vulnerability, recognizing love, recognizing your open heart, recognizing your feelings, intense or not intense, is a very important part of the living experience. And it will help you reduce your stress, puts things into perspective a little bit. The third is learn to adapt. One of the things that we have a lot of trouble with in life is change. And we're somehow the humans on this planet don't adapt very quickly. I think we could do a little better job. You know how people say, "Oh, I don't want to move.
Agree.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that." That's change, and I love my comfort zone. And don't move me off my couch. I don't want to get out. Don't move me anywhere. So, I think change is exciting. I think change is completely important in life. And I just recently, after 30 years in Los Angeles, and being grateful for all the work I got to do there at UCLA for the last 12 years, and in theater and doing, I became a drug counselor during that time, and became a life coach. I said, it's time to go. I need to go. I need to challenge myself in another environment. And I got in the car, and I drove to Austin, Texas, where my son is and two of my grandchildren and some wonderful friends. And I just changed. And before I left, when I was riding up in the elevator to teach one of my yoga classes, and one of the administrative staff said to me, she said, "How did you decide to make this change? How did you know? How do you know when to move? How do you know when to change it up?" And that was a great question, because unconsciously, I think I thought about the move for 2 years. And I didn't bring it up until probably the summer of last year. I didn't bring it into my consciousness. When I knew that my work at UCLA was done, and I knew that I had made the contribution that I wanted to make, and I knew that it was time to be with my family. And my family, part of my family, was in Austin. And that's where my heart led me. So I think you move with your heart. I think that part of that heart, of course, is the knowledge, the self-knowledge and the self-reflection that I know it was time for another challenge.
Absolutely. And there was something you said that was key there. And it resonated for me because I heard you say earlier that you blog every day. And I blog generally at least once a week, if not more. But in many instances, that same notion that you just brought up in terms of something resonating or ruminating in the subconscious before you bring it into fruition. Many times people think they see a spontaneous act. Really what they're seeing is a buildup on the subconscious level. And I'm saying all that to say, whenever I write my blogs, I'll get a topic in my mind 1 or 2 weeks in advance. And subconsciously, my subconscious will work on that topic. And then when I sit down to the keyboard, it just flows. Right. And so when you just said that about the move, it hit home for me because, matter of fact, I think subconsciously I'm looking at some type of a relocation type move as well at some point because the signs and the indicators just kind of keep popping up, the affirmation and confirmations. So, but I'm saying all that for the listening audience that a lot of times what you may see people do that you may think was a spontaneous movement, it really was not. There's a lot of behind the scenes that went into it. But the trick is you got to have that behind the scenes. And that's what I'm hearing. For many of us, we probably don't have because we don't like change.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the worst thing in the world for people to change. I mean, I can't tell you how many people say, oh, that's the hardest thing that you talk about is the change. But change reframes your imagination. That's the key. It reframes your imagination. People who don't will get that dementia a lot earlier than people who do learn to adapt in different circumstances. One of the things that I wanted to give myself as a present is I wanted to learn about the Millennials. I wanted to learn about the next generation coming up. And I live in an apartment building in Austin where people have come from all over the country for various reasons, because Austin's a very thriving city, very tech-oriented city, music city. And I am in a building. At first I wanted to sort of live in this writer's duplex someplace in the woods. And my daughter-in-law pointed out to me that wasn't going to be good for me, that I needed to be around people. And, of course, I go into this building, and immediately I want to teach yoga in the building. I want to meet the young people. I want to interact with them. And that's what's happened. You talk about the greatest thing that's kept me, 19, is meeting these kids in their 20s.
Yes.
And early 30s, and watching them move through their careers and to grow and change. They moved from Chicago, from Philadelphia, from Indianapolis, from New York, from the Northeast. And that challenge, that's what people of a certain age, this wasn't going to be me, but I thought about it, go into active senior communities. And active senior communities can be like, it isn't like old fogies. It's like you go to an active senior community when you're 60 if you want to, or 55 if you want to.
That's correct.
And you can interact with people. Part of my book, the last part of my book, talks about retirement in terms of moving and where you live and taking up challenges. Do something that challenges you every single day. Be brave once a day. I get on my bike and I say, I'm going around the river, and that's a challenge for me. That's what I'm going to do this morning. I'm going to get on my bike and I'm going to ride around the river. That's something brave. And I think that's what you have to think. You have to wake up in the morning and say, what's going to challenge me? What am I going to do that's brave? So let me get to the fourth, and this just ties in with what I was saying. The fourth mindful tool is finding passion. And if you can find passion in your life, then you can stay young. Mine is dancing. It's, being at yoga, is doing and teaching and practicing yoga. It's just recently getting on a bike and riding. And my passion is also for my grandchildren and making them as comfortable and as loved as they possibly can be. And like my neighbor in Los Angeles, a brilliant photographer, brilliant. It's her passion. She retired as a school counselor after over 30 years in the LA school district. If you could see the pictures she takes, they're amazing. And I kept encouraging her, keep going, keep going, keep going. You never know what's going to happen at any age. you can manifest your dreams.
See, what I'm hearing from you and what I'm taking out of this, and for many of us, I know we get caught up in that trap. And I remember, as the kids can now say, and many people say back in the day, where you would work at a particular job or a company for 40, 50 years. They'd give you like the little timepiece or the watch or whatever, and then you go sit in a rocking chair somewhere. What I'm hearing from you is life does not have to end at the end of whatever one of your career paths, at the end of your job. You just said 30 years at this, 30 years as a counselor, and now a photographer, or now I this, that. That to me is what keeps us going, is that there's always something to do. And interestingly enough, I heard you say something about do something brave, because the tagline for a station here is Brave New Radio. That's the tagline for us. You know, I'm sitting here looking at a bumper sticker that says, "Are you brave enough?" But I'm sitting here and this is like hitting home for me more than you know, because two things. One, as you're talking, I'm realizing this is my mother would be 78 in October. And I'm realizing that the things you're talking about is the exact things that she's doing, and that's probably why she's still here. But it's also the things that I'm doing, which is hopefully will keep me there, because I'm looking here at one of the questions in terms of, well, what does it feel like to be 70?
Look, I have lived a wonderful life, and the life I took big steps many, many years ago. I got out of a marriage that wasn't working for me. I raised 2 children pretty much by myself. I had a lot of struggles, but I had a great life.
Yes.
And to say that I'm 70 is, to me, a badge of honor. I don't feel it. I don't know what that's supposed to feel like anyway. I've never been like one of those people that say, oh, ache and pain and this and that. If my back hurts when I get up, I know exactly what to do. I'm not going to dwell on it. I know how to fix it.
That's right.
You know, I mean, and I've lived pretty much a free life. And freedom is great if you use it correctly, if you use it for good. And I've lived a life that I've given back to people. I love helping people, and I love being a good friend and a good mother and a good grandmother. And I think that when I look back at my life, it's phenomenal. So to be 70 is to say, wow, and I've got another 30 years. This is way
That's
way
right.
Good.
That's right.
This is way good.
That's right.
This is so fabulous. I mean, I've got my trips planned for the year. I plan, you know. I mean, I know where I'm going to go. I keep very close to my family. One of the things I think keeps me very healthy, and I've thought a lot about this, is I keep close to both my sons, both my daughters-in-law. I go shopping with them. I go to dinner with them. I go to places with them, and I keep as close to my 5 grandchildren as I can, encouraging them and loving them, even if it's just to say on the phone, "I love you guys." So this is a really important part of this part of my life, is to stay very, very close to my family. And I still get thrilled when I get a phone call from one of my sons. You know, it still brings me great joy. And while we're on the subject of family, the last minefield tool, good segue, is practice forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Forgiveness is the key to this whole lifetime. And part of the message of my book is forgiveness, because I tell stories in there that exemplify some challenges that I had with my family, and to be proactive about those challenges, and to really learn the art of forgiveness, because forgiveness will stop you cold from living a great life, because it gets in the way of hope and in human relations and clear communication, and it's so negative and so destructive to the human soul. So this is the key to great living, is to practice forgiveness.
I could not agree with you more.
I just heard, funny, my generation, Roger Daltrey of The Who, being interviewed by Howard Stern.
That's
and
right.
He said something. He said, whom I listened to, by the way, because it's a great interview. But I heard him say that he doesn't have time. He doesn't have time to carry grudges. He doesn't have time in life to deal with that. And he used something very simple. Just get over it. Get over it and move on.
Absolutely.
You know, and really, when you think about it,
it is so
like,
true.
If you carry that in your heart, if you carry that negativity in your heart, if you can't forgive, then you've stopped living. You've really cut your life in half.
It is true, and it's not. And also, along with the time, I could not agree with him again more. Is the energy? It takes a whole lot of energy that to be holding that grudge. I mean, have you? I've seen the experience where it actually takes more energy not to speak to somebody than to just say hello and keep walking. The person. Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, the person that you call yourself holding the grudge against, and you see them, and you have to go out of your way not to speak to them, or try not to see them, or have them not see you. That's way more energy than it takes to just walk on by and say, "How you doing?"
Right. Oh my gosh, that is so true. You know, and I've done that with people. I've said, "Hi, how you doing?" and walking by. But you know what I remember about that person that decided it didn't want to be a friend with mine, didn't want to be my friend. That person has an issue with him or herself.
That's right. That's right.
You know, my therapist used to say, "It's not your problem, Joan. It's their problem."
That's right.
It's not your problem. And once I know that I didn't have to carry that around with myself, then I look at the good thing. What did that person give me in my life that made me happy?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that person was my first tango teacher. That person introduced me to tango and took me to Buenos Aires that first year. That person gave me a gift. I don't have to be angry at that person. That's that person's issue.
Correct.
With her own being,
correct.
Not with me.
Correct. It's so true.
And of course, and when you look at it that way, it trivializes the whole experience. I mean, it's really trivial. It really doesn't need to be in your life. Put the things in your life that add value. What adds value to your well-being? That's the question that people should ask themselves when they get in a situation. Is this person added value to my life? Does this person give me something important, and then in turn I can give that person something important in return? That's what relationship is all about. And important means anything. That's just a word. It could be, what blessing can I give that person? Or what generosity of spirit can I give that person? Or what insight can I give that person? Or that person can give to me? I mean, I just took a road trip with my best friend since 2 years old. And we decided we were going to go on a road trip at the beginning of May. And I met her in Sacramento, and we went to our old hometown and looked at our old street that we lived on in San Rafael, which is Marin County in Northern California. And we went to Napa. And as we're riding in the car, we're exchanging reflections on a life well lived. I learned more from my girlfriend at 70 than I could ever possibly imagined, just by exchanging vulnerabilities and changes and passions. And so that's what keeps us young. And she just wrote me an email and said, "We've done pretty well, haven't we? We've got our act together." I go, "You bet you. I bet you, baby, we got our act together a lot." There's one more thing I want to say. If the women are listening out there, as you get older, those female relationships are real important.
Well, it is true. I began laughing because my mother's, first off, they grew up together. They went to high school together. And then when they moved from the South to the North, they were roommates for a time. And her name is Kathy. And now both of them have relocated back to the South, one in South Carolina, one in Georgia. And they've had that similar conversation in terms of what you just described. That's why I laugh so hard, because I remember my mother saying, me and Kathy were chatting the other day and said, "You know what, we did all right." Because they're, like I said, close to 80 now, 77, 78.
And that's great. That's a great statement to make. I mean, I'm going to say that when I'm saying, "Hey, we're doing okay. We're taking another road trip to Napa." And that, that's the kind of memories, and we met another friend, and in that same couple of friends in that same, we had that same experience at our 50th high school reunion, and we were raised in a very small community, a very Catholic community, if you will, and it was a very special time when we grew up in the 50s, and we don't have that time anymore, except in small cities.
Right.
You could still possibly have that freedom, but there's not a lot of freedom out there. You have to be so careful. And that's just kind of an adjustment that you have to make. But the the real bonding of the female in this stage of our game. And I've heard males say this. I have a male friend who just loves his little coffee klatch in the morning in his apartment building in Minneapolis, where the guys go down and, shoot the breeze.
Yep.
And I think that's part, again, that's that socialization that's so important for stretching our mind and listening and opening up the whole mind to the human experience as much as we possibly can, no matter where we live, no matter what we do. I want to add one more thing: exercise. And I think exercise is crucial to keeping a young mindset, to also stretching the mind. It's also been studied. It's exercise and mind stretching, if you will, and just coining my tagline, are one and the same. If you stretch, if you walk, keep those muscles going, they atrophy. They atrophy very, very quickly. As you age, they atrophy at a faster rate. You also lose at a faster rate. You lose hundreds of thousands of neurotransmitters. Those are the hormones in your body. You lose them daily, so that the dopamine, the adrenaline, the norepinephrine, and the serotonin, which is brain hormone,
right,
the neurotransmitter, you will lose the ability to access them because they're dying. So exercise puts all that back in your system, and you can replenish the neurotransmitters. At first, research said, "Oh no, you're going." That's why people, they die young.
That's right.
Have to say exception, serious illness. Always have to say exception. But if you exercise and take a friend with you on the walk and find your path and do the ritual, it's a ritual that you can get into. Yoga's a ritual. I love the ritual. But maybe listen to music if you can't find a friend. That excites your neurotransmitters. Music excites. Play music. Don't turn the TV on. Play some jazz.
Correct.
Play some chants. Play some hip-hop or whatever it is that you want to hear. But play something and dance around your apartment. Dance through your life as if no one is watching you. It's yours.
Correct.
Claim it. Do it.
Well, I tell you what, we've come down to the last couple of minutes of the interview, and I always give the microphone over to the guest to promote any type of promotion that you would like to do, with the exception of the dollar amount or what have you, but any websites, any way they can get in touch with you, any workshops, book signings, yoga classes, or what have you. This is your opportunity to promote that. Again, without saying the dollar amount or the figure, but anything else is up for game. You're free to do that, Joan. I have had I am inspired because you are where I am looking to get to, and you're trying to get to the same place, which is that 100-year mark.
Oh yeah. I'm going to go. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to torture I always say I'm going to torture my kids.
So
I'm going to torture my son.
You're a couple of years ahead of me, but I look forward to hearing from you once you reach 100. And I laugh because my pastor, he's 7 years younger than me, and his goal is to get there to 100 as well. So he always teases me and says, "You'll get there before I do." But so that's the type of conversations we constantly have about reaching that 100 years ago. But it is doable. I mean, I read in the paper just about every day or every week of someone who's turned 100. And a lot of the things, when they ask him, well, how did you get here? How did you stay there? A lot of the things that you talked about this morning are a lot of the responses that they give. And I just wish more people would take you up on what you're offering. Because, again, a lot of people think we're just Pollyannas. Again, we're coming through life with rose-colored glasses. So that's not reality. But the truth of the matter is, it is reality.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Oh, geez. That's what I'm saying. I just wrote a blog in the Huffington Post about 5 ways you can reframe the aging process. And if anybody wants to look at my philosophy at all, the Huffington Post archives my blogs, and you can always get them there. But you can also get a lot on my website. But this is important. It's important for us to reframe our age every chance we can get. In other words, where am I going? I always look at my age in terms of decades.
Right.
So I'm already past 70. I'm 71 and will be 72. So I'm looking at my 70s right now and living them with joy, and I'm grateful every day because I have so much in my life.
Yes.
So everybody can do that.
Yes.
Everybody can do that mantra. That's just a mantra.
Yes.
It's easy. Yeah. Well, I'll plug what I have to plug. I have a book called 60, and it's the number 60, Sex and Tango, Confessions of a Beatnik Boomer, which is on Amazon. And if you're interested in ordering it, it's the red cover, not the black cover. The black cover is the audio. It's on Kindle also, and you could get an audio version of the book. And I have a website which has everything you ever wanted to know about me and more. It's www.Joan Frances, Frances, the feminine, Moran, JoanFrancesMoran.com. And that will give you my contact information, how to book me as a keynote speaker, or workshops. And I love doing retreats. I'm doing several retreats this year. It's what I like to do the best. And I think that's it.
Well, I'll tell you what, as the kids can say, you go, girl. I am going to order a copy of your book for my mother because I know she will enjoy reading that.
It's very funny.
And I'm going to order it today and have it delivered to her. 60 Sex and Tango Confessions of a Beatnik Boomer. I'm going to order that and have her delivered to her door, and I know she's going to get a kick out of reading that.
Well, thank you so much. I hope some of your audience members who want to get a kick out of their lives, and see someone else's aggravation. They can read my memoir and probably say, "Oh, thank God for my life." But anyway, it's been a joy, Mark. It's been a total joy, and I thank you so very, very much.
Well, same here. I thank you as well because I am leaving the microphone inspired. And as I said, when I get home in a couple of hours, I'm going straight to the computer. I'm going to order this book to have it sent to her. Hopefully, she'll have it before next week is out. And it's going to be my gift to her because I know she'll be able to relate.
Yeah, I think so. That's great.
Well,
thank you. Lots of luck to you, and you're doing a great, great job, and a really needed hour of Saturday to have people mentally collect and reflect on their lives.
Absolutely, and I thank you so much. The show is recorded. When I get at some point over the weekend, I will do the editing, and I will email it to you or to what's the
email it to me.
Email. What's your, you know what? Because I have, I'm trying to think if your email contact was in, I'm trying to think of the young lady that contacted us, all of us together.
Was it Deb Bailey?
Yes.
Yes, it's Deb, yeah.
So
yeah, it's fine. No, we have to send out lots and lots of light to Deb. She's ill.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, we do have to send out some light to her for sure then.
We want to offer lots and lots of good vibrations in that direction.
Yes, because Deb is who connected us. And so, what is your email on your website, the JoanFrancesMoran.com website? The email's there.
Yeah, and it's real simple. The email is Joan Frances Moran Joan at JoanFrancesMoran.com. So it's my name.
Joan at JoanFrancesMoran.com. That's the email.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will
That's
email
the website.
Okay, I will email the copy of the show to you. You can do what you'd like with it in terms of posting it or sending it out. But truly, more needs to hear this and realize that what we're talking about is not just fluff, because it has worked for me. That's why I can endorse it, because I know it works, because it's worked for me. And I will not endorse anything that has not worked. But I can say these principles and practices that we spoke about this morning, they do indeed work.
They do, and they make life easy.
Yes, they do.
My final word is struggle is overrated. You don't have to struggle.
It's
just overrated. Live with joy, not with struggle.
Exactly. So on that note, we're going to send that light out to Deb, and have a wonderfully blessed day. And I'll be in touch.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right.
Too.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, that was a refreshing an inspiring interview with Joan Moran. And Deb, I'm trying to think of Deb's last name because I don't have it right in front of me, but Deb was the one that scheduled a lot of different authors that are coming up in the coming weeks. And Joan is the first of those. So I didn't realize Deb was ill, so I will definitely have to send her an email or something wishing her good wealth, health, and success.